Hiiro.
Oh, Rachel, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm not sure how I'm doing, to be honest, but that's
That's
not to
fair.
indicate anything negative
That's
at all or
fair. That's
positive.
fair.
Just I'm present. I'm present. I'm
That's
here and happy to chat and happy to, yeah, pardon our
that's
minds.
that's totally fair. Yeah, welcome to Pardon My Mind,
Hmm.
with myself and with Hero. And
That's
yeah,
me.
it's okay to like not have a definitive answer when somebody asks you how you're doing.
No.
Or this is totally not even what we're going to talk about today, but of course we go off topic, but it's just something I thought of. Like, when you're out and you see anyone, a stranger, let's just say anyone, specifically a stranger, someone you don't know, and or the grocery store, how's it going today? You're at the checkout. I have such a hard time not like just vomiting everything and just being like totally honest instead of I don't think they really want to know really how my day is going. Like, do you really want all the nitty-gritty details? Because I will tell you. Then there's the odd time I try to actually like say, no, just Rachel, just say good or good, and that's it. But there's the odd time that I've had, I don't know, have you done this before? Odd time where I've said like, actually, um, not so great. And like, I'm just getting over this cold or blah, 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 blah. And I kind of, but what I noticed is that after I've talked for a couple of seconds, I look up and the cashier's just like, okay, like, don't think I was really expecting that. And I don't really know how to react to that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, when I am in that side of helping people and I ask how
Right.
they are doing and they also ask how I'm doing, sometimes a lot of the time I do succumb to the 4-letter words, I would say. That's usually because it's always the 4-letter words. Fine, good,
Oh yeah.
well,
Yep.
like I'm well. Um, or like not bad, right? As opposed so it's so interesting
Not
how when
all
we
four letters, but yeah.
yeah, but primarily like there's shortcuts. There's shortcuts to
Yeah,
just
they
get a point across
yeah,
and
totally.
being courteous, but it actually in some ways it's damaging to our health and our psyche because when we hear something outside of those specific terms or words that we kind of sift through, then it throws us off center and also makes
Yes.
us question, is there something wrong with that? And no, it's actually quite beautiful for someone to actually come up and say, I'm not having a great day, and for me to be able to say, I'm happy to hear about it. Like I might only have like 30 seconds, but like what's going on if
Mhm.
and then being able to acknowledge that where they're at and say, let this be an opportunity for you to treat yourself, to take care of yourself, or to provide for yourself. There's ways to turn it around if you are providing it, or if you're the person that's not feeling great. There are definitely times where I've come into places where I've said, I'm not feeling that great. And people are just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Or they
yeah.
almost don't know how to react. They emotionally
Exactly.
deflect it. And I'm thinking, don't ask how I'm doing then, which furthers
But
your point.
that's because it's an autopilot question.
Yes,
It's
yes.
not it's just we're just used to saying that. Oh, how's it going?
Hmm.
How's it going? How's it going? How are you today? How are like it's just
Hmm.
like, but it's we say it so much that it's lost its meaning,
Yeah,
really.
completely.
So
Completely.
again, this is something we weren't really going to talk about, but it just triggered that for me. What we were going to talk about today though, however, is I mean, it all kind of ties into one another, is using our mental health challenges as superpowers rather than as an affliction or as something that's wrong with us. And that actually came from one of our listeners who suggested that as a topic, because we were asking, what would you all like us to talk about? So very, very even more specifically, she actually mentioned ADHD.
Hmm.
So how is, and not even how is, but like that ADHD actually is a superpower. So I almost want to know, like, I mean, I know we're not interviewing her or talking to her, but I just want to know, where that came about as to why she wanted to ask that question, or if, what her experiences were surrounding that specifically. Um, but I can't really speak to ADHD myself. I mean, I don't know. I think maybe I do have a touch of ADHD. Who knows? But that I feel like anxiety in general, when you're so heightened, you can't really I can't really pay attention to certain things. My mind is all over the place, which to me, I guess, is a bit of ADHD, perhaps. But I guess it's all about your perception and switching the terms in your head. So it's like, okay, instead of making this, I keep saying, want to say affliction, but this negative thing turn into a positive. So,
Mhm.
what does it mean to have the characteristics of ADHD, perhaps being overthinking things, not being able to concentrate, those types of things. But you know what? Like, most likely you're an amazing multitasker. That's a
Mm.
superpower. That's part of having ADHD.
Right.
That you are you're almost probably overly aware of everything that's going on. So overstimulated, but you are hyper aware. Um,
Yes.
which actually, like, is, to me, can be a positive thing too, because you're going to know if something is like that tiger is right around the corner, or something actually is potentially going to happen, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know if you want to
Mhm.
weigh in on ADHD specifically, but
Well, of the things that I do have, ADHD isn't one of them. What
mhm.
I can speak to about ADHD from those that I have had around me in my life who are, it creates a power of creates
Yes,
creativity and
yes,
innovation
that's another
because
one. Yeah.
it lets there are so many simulations and prompts that come at the brain. And when you are ADHD, my understanding is the ability that it really takes you have the ability to absorb that information and channel it in a way that makes sense for how you think.
Mhm.
Whereas someone that might not be ADHD, they might have that ability, but their ability to maybe transmit the information and put it out in the same timeliness or the same innovative way might be different. So I think
Mhm.
that is one key thing I've noticed with ADHD. And another one would be as well is the ability to be very well, I know hyperactive is part of like that H in ADHD, but that is a strength and a skill as well if you have the space and the place to utilize that energy. So,
Mhm.
so if you have the ability to have certain projects, if you have the opportunity to have some free reign within enough structure, but you have the permission to really excel, that's powerful.
Absolutely. So, and then, I want to ask you a question then about, personally, some a mental health challenge that maybe you have. What would you consider your superpower, channeling from a mental health
Yeah, yeah, for
challenge
sure.
that you
I mean,
have?
honestly, I think my self-awareness is a superpower from the result of having heightened anxiety
Hmm.
symptoms and then also having the autism spectrum as part of that as well. It's one of those elements that helps me to understand how to show up in the world because the world's not made for people like myself. So
Mm.
though I might have some deficit in that, what it has done as a superpower is it's helped me understand how to get alert about what I might not normally be kind of accustomed to or not having those natural affinities from just my normal wiring. So
Hmm.
in some aspects, I might be more aware of certain things that I might technically might not be, but because I've done the work to manually strengthen certain skills or senses of observation or awareness, it's actually stronger than someone who might be neurotypical because they haven't had the need to fully refine or work on such skills or deficiencies that might be more present in someone who has autism or something that might be on that spectrum.
Hmm.
So like when
Yeah.
I notice myself feeling I notice someone doing something that I technically used to do perhaps and then learn how to correct or enhance that behavior to be best in my interest. So then notice others who may display similar behaviors, but I can tell based on knowing them, they are not neurodivergent or at least diagnosed neurodivergent, but there's a lack of awareness or an ignorance factor or something like that, or stubbornness, maybe even. And yet I'm aware enough about what someone else is doing, but yet I've had to do that much more work, which comes back to my point is that I've had to do that much work on myself to be able to regulate and understand how I show up around other people. So when I see other people who might not be showing up in that way, whether if they're older, if they have more experience or whatever it may not be, I find it fascinating because this is something that I would find myself doing or that I
Mm.
used to do or that
Hmm.
I had no
Hmm.
awareness of because I wasn't at a point of my discovery, awareness, or my tools to actually
Yeah.
correct certain behaviors.
Isn't that so? You make a really good point. Is that interesting? When you're on this journey to healing or to growing, and you're really in the thick of it, and you've done a lot of the work, like you said, you really become so much more hyper aware of those that maybe haven't, and those that are, well, I shouldn't even, not even on a journey necessarily or at all, but really just
Hmm.
haven't done any work necessarily, or don't really have a lot of the tools, but you're so much more aware of that. And hopefully, and a lot of us that maybe are on these journeys ourselves, when you do find people like that, instead of judging or being frustrated, hopefully we do have compassion,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? You would hope,
Yeah.
for those
Compassion and
individuals.
fascination.
And curiosity, instead of, I mean, unless they're complete assholes.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's kind of hard to keep with that compassion. Although, you know what? Assholes need compassion too.
Oh my God, tons.
Assholes need compassion too. Yeah, I don't know where this is going. Not the physical asshole. Well, oh my gosh. Anyway, I do understand what you're saying completely. And I think that just being overly sensitive, not sensitized, being overly sensitive.
Yeah.
See, that's something, I was always told you're too, it's almost like when you're too something, when you use the word TOO in front of something, it's
Yeah.
negative, right?
Yep.
You're too this, you're too that, you're too sensitive,
Right.
right? But you can flip that, and this is where the superpower comes in. How about being overly sensitive, or being just sensitive
Hmm.
is actually, is a superpower, because you can therefore hold compassion for other people. Hopefully, like I'm talking about me, and I should say you. I can be very sensitive to my environments, to, other people for sure, and their energies and that kind of thing. But also I'm very perceptive.
Hmm.
And I know what's going on for sure. Like sometimes, actually, someone told me in my early 20s, therapist was like, your anxiety basically, oh, this is what it was. I was always afraid when I first started experiencing major anxiety symptoms that were basically like, think of a panic attack and just like every symptom under the sun. It was basically that. And I would always think I was dying. I thought I was, dying, or literally losing my mind, like going
Hmm.
crazy. I would lose, like lose my mind, not know who I was, not know where I was, all those kinds of things. But somebody once told me, and it always stuck with me, because I am so anxious, or so sensitive, I'll just say that word again,
Hmm.
and able to vocalize all those things, it's almost like I'm too much in reality.
Hmm. Okay.
So someone was told me, like, you could, because you're so acutely aware of every single thing that's going around you, that's just basically, that's overwhelming you. It's almost like you can't really, the people that go crazy don't really know they're going crazy.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, people that are listening to this, but it's almost like it's not something like, if you're so anxious, I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but you
Well, they're so
you're too
they're so
you're
enveloped. They're
you're
so
so
enveloped within
exactly
themselves,
like in
right?
in all the things that are happening environmentally, internally, that it can be extremely overwhelming, and you can feel extremely overly sensitive about it.
Yep.
But the reality is, you are almost, and again, I'm using that word too much, you're in it so much that it's like, it's almost impossible to actually lose your mind, because
Yeah.
you're so connected. So, I don't know how to use that into superpower, but it's, definitely taken me a lot of years to realize that not only am I not going to go crazy or die from a panic attack, but that, I'm just, I'm very, 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 very much aware of my surroundings and what's going on around me.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like, how do you use that as a superpower?
I think part of it is being able to have the tunnel vision that you start to identify as you get more grip on your patterns and your triggers.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
might have to override and overcompensate in a way, and you have a certain amount of so-called like an energy, like a life bar, I guess, if you want to give some kind of nerdy metaphor. But at some point, your life is going to run out, and then you don't have any more continues. And once you're out of those continues, then you need to just chill and wait until you have the ability to get that, someone to put a new quarter in the machine and be willing to restart your game.
This is a
Right.
really good segue into, you're talking about life,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about age, and now I'm thinking
Mm,
about how our birthdays are coming up.
I know. What the fuck?
And speaking of, I know we did just touch on, turning our mental health challenges into superpowers, but you know, as you approach birthdays, how do y'all actually deal with this? How does
Yeah.
everyone out
Tell
there deal
us.
with birthdays? Because I think it depends on if you're about to hit a big milestone birthday or if you're
Hmm.
not, or
Hmm.
um sometimes it depends on when your birthday hits during the time of year. Like both Hero and I, my birthdays are in the middle of winter, and whereas I hate that because I don't like winter. I'm just putting words in Hero's mouth, but maybe you don't mind Hero as much because
I'm obsessed.
you're not obsessed with winter necessarily, but you handle it better than me.
Fair. Fair. And then the roles
Yeah.
reverse when the summer comes in.
Yeah,
We're like, la
exactly.
la 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 la, let's go for a
Oh,
hike, let's go for a swim. I'm like,
oh God.
bitch, give me a tree and shade and a
Uh,
matcha latte, and I'll watch you have fun. And
I mean,
I'll
that sounds nice too, but I need
it's
the
the yin
warmth.
and the
But
yang. Yin and the
yeah,
yang.
it is for sure. But as you know, as yeah, like how are you feeling coming up to another day of
Yeah.
birth,
Yeah. Well,
as he rubs his eyes in his face? For
now
those that
I'm
are just
official.
listening,
Well, now I can
rubbing my eyes.
now I can officially say I'm in my 30s as opposed to say like I'm 30.
Okay.
It's not like,
Yeah.
okay, it's the first year of being 30. Oh, wow, I'm finally 30. I'm over that shock. But now I'm
Hmm.
actually officially in my 30s because I'm turning 31.
Yeah.
So it's something that I do look forward to. And I feel that I have a really bright year ahead of me with where I'm at in my life on all aspects, especially in interpersonal relationships, in professional matters, but also self-assurance of like what I know I want and what I wish to achieve and acquire. And then being at peace with not knowing exactly how it's going to happen, but whatever control I have over certain variables, I'm taking control of those variables. And then whatever is meant to happen from that is going to tell me otherwise.
Hmm.
So
You sound
from
like
that
you're
side,
positive. You're pretty positive
I'm
about.
optimistic.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
optimistic. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the second half of this year was definitely, or like the middle of this year, I suppose. The first part of this year was fantastic. The middle of this year was a lot of growing pains, a lot of self-discovery, a lot of patience. And then
Mhm.
the last part of this year leading up to next week when I start my new year again, it's been very uh reintegration and clarification
Mhm.
and through self-awareness and through communication. So now that I have those things kind of aligned and centered, now it's really time to go into the next part, which is further execution and really more patience, but also more determination, I guess, because there's that I see what's happening before my eyes.
Well, it's yeah, that's interesting because you said a couple times you said something about like this new year, the next year. And I think maybe it's because our birthdays are fairly close to the new year.
Yeah, that's correct.
I always don't really put a lot of emphasis necessarily on January 1st and the new
Mm-mm.
year. I tend to put more emphasis on my birthday, which is the very end of January, as in like that is the beginning of my new year. Like I kind
Yep.
of that's the kind of the emphasis I put on if you want to talk about like resolutions or
Yep.
goal setting, like that's kind of
Intentions.
what I
Yeah.
do, intentions for my birthday. So um yeah, I am hitting a milestone, as you know. Pretty big one. I'm a little older than Hiiro. I'm turning 40.
Right.
I wanted to pretend I was not turning 40, but you know what? It's I'm actually like I went from being kind of depressed about it to feeling kind of positive about it.
Mm-hmm.
And um I feel like I'm looking at it like this is the theater girl in me from growing up with musical theater parents. I'm looking at it as like this is my second act.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
not to say I'd love to live past 80, everyone, but I'm like this is like okay, well, you know, I'm not putting too much pressure on myself being like, okay, well now you should know better because you're this age. You should
Mm-hmm.
should be this place. You should. It's very easy to get caught up in that with age. Like all those shoulds and then
Right.
comparing ourselves to everyone else that, is around the same ages that might be more quote unquote successful or, doing all these types of things. A few things I think have helped. Number one, I've gone off social media for about a week and a half, not very long, I know, but and
It's
then just
huge.
periodically kind of checking in here or there. But I think that's really going to help me. So I am not comparing myself to other people.
Mm-mm.
And then, like I said, just kind of thinking of it as like opportunity, really,
Mm-hmm.
and setting like real intentions for myself. So not necessarily like mental health intentions, but things that will help my mental health for sure, like traveling
Right.
and going and coming to realizations in my life. It's like, okay, no kids, no pets, which means no dependence.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I work with that? How can that freedom, I can use that freedom to work for my benefit, right?
You get to see me more often because you're not tied up.
Yeah. You know what though? Honestly, everyone, it's taken me this long to even get over the shock of COVID. And because I
Right.
do work from home, I don't work in the public like Hiiro does. So it's taken me a
True.
long time to kind of get to
True.
the place where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm in this place and this milestone birthday is coming up, okay, cool. Like, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to, continue to put one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, not one step, and move forward. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I said, it's like, it's act two. Act two is always more exciting than act one,
Always.
right?
Act one sets everything up, and then
It
act two,
does.
it's like, hey, let's fucking rip that band-aid off.
Exact. Well, yeah, sure. I don't know if I put it that way, but yeah.
Or like the
because
balloon,
because
the
like
balloon is about to burst and with tons of juicy glory.
sure, I like that better because like
Okay.
which the bandit off is like there's fear there for me.
Right.
It's like,
Okay.
it's gonna really hurt. Like, fuck this. No, 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 no.
No,
It's like
no.
all the exciting stuff, you know.
Act one, it's a lot of this.
Yeah, it's a lot of
And then
sweating.
act two is about
Exactly.
exactly.
Like
Blast off.
our sound effects. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
So
Oh.
yeah, there's that. There's that. So yeah, I'd love to know what everyone else out there, if you want to, make any comments, you're more than welcome to make as many comments as you like,
Yes.
on from our YouTube channel specifically, because I don't think you can actually comment on podcast platforms, but
Uh
YouTube channel, yeah, let us know, how do you deal with birthdays? How does it as Hiiro makes the biggest yawn,
part of my
isn't that
mind.
stifling? I love this. If you're watching this, and because this is, I see everything. I don't acknowledge it until I did now. He was trying to stifle a yawn this entire episode. I could see
Yep.
it. I saw it a couple times. And finally, maybe it's because we just talked about like that
Yeah.
kind of letting go. You did just let it go.
I just
The
totally did.
biggest yawn,
Yeah.
tonsils and everything.
No farts or anything, just a
No
yawn.
farts.
No.
Well, who knows, right? I mean,
Who
I wouldn't be able to
knows?
hear it. It could be silent. We're not in the same room, people.
No.
So anyway, see, this is what happens when we start to get goofy like this. Maybe we know we need to like wrap it up because
Sometimes that is the case.
but yeah, so today, like I said, just wanted to hop on and talk about turning your mental health challenge that you may I don't even want to say suffer from, that you may have in your life, into a
Yeah.
superpower.
Yes.
And yeah, and those birthdays, make them into like, that's your new year. It's your personal new year.
It's your personal new year,
It's your
another year
own
around the
personal
sun.
new year. You don't have to share it with anybody else. I mean, maybe there's someone else out there that has the same birthday as you, but it's not going to be millions and millions of people or
No.
billions and billions of people.
And if it is, then let us know how that happened for you.
That's not possible.
Oh,
What are you talking about? I'm talking how that
I'm
happened. You mean what? Okay, yeah. I
when
think
you're talking about reaching millions of people.
I'm talking, oh my gosh. I just talked about if your birthday, there's no way you're going to share a birthday with billions of people
Oh,
like you would if you were celebrating New Year's.
oh, I thought you meant
You
like in
have your
terms of like
own.
celebrating your birthday with like tons of people, like
No, I
you're,
think
oh,
no. I think you're sleeping. I think your brain is sleeping and your mouth is somehow
there's a
is
slight
just
cogs that's
keeps
just kind of
moving.
popping out.
I don't know. Okay, friends. I think that's probably about it for this
Yes,
episode.
I think so.
Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. And if there's any topics that you want us to talk about, let us know. We will
Mhm,
still continue to have guests. We mentioned this, I think, in the first podcast of the year that we did.
mhm.
We'll be doing more of these one-on-ones, just Hiiro and I, but yes, there are still guests that will be coming on. So stay tuned for that. And have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.